You know what it is. It's another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. I got someone special in the house.
You don't gotta be perfect, you just gotta get started. Don't overthink it. Just go where your heart is, turn your dreams and your goals. Let your goals shape how you live. Success is inevitable if you're willing to give up your old self to become someone new, to be the true you. Never be afraid to do you in front of the critics, sideline judges,
Y'all ready?
non-believers.
See the smiling face with
Holding
me?
their grudges, appreciate the hate. It's
In
when
your
you watch
community.
making the money, stoppable from the beginning. Your uses are useless. Let your actions be part of the solution and watch the income it produces. Recognize greatness, a supreme revelation. Years of blood, sweat, and tears to become an overnight sensation. Can't do it alone. Should have said this first. Teamwork. Always make the dream work. Teamwork.
Yeah. It's another episode of You Don't Have to Be Perfect. And today we have Miss Lin Erickson in the house. Everybody say, if you don't know, Lin is the CEO, right? CEO of the Da Vinci Center, one of my favorite places. So, Lin, how did you get there? How did you choose to be CEO of the Da Vinci Center?
I had a really interesting opportunity in 1997. This is a very, very, very long time ago. A faculty member at Lehigh had started the Science Center and it was struggling. She had left and I was in the right place at the right time. I was the associate director of the Iacocca Institute at Lehigh. And at that time, the Science Center
How did
was
I miss
part
you?
of that.
How did I miss you?
I don't know.
I was at Lehigh in '97. I was a graduated.
Well,
And
but I wasn't working. Well, a little bit with students, but mostly with National Workforce Development Project and some other things, executive leadership. So,
but I worked at Iacocca Hall. That's why I said.
yes, I was in there.
Yeah,
Yes,
I worked
yes,
with Dr. Perry. Yes.
yes. So I had been a teacher. I had been working in community colleges. Been working with business and industry, and then President Likens and Roger Nagel, who was the head of the Iacocca Institute, asked me if I would try to make a go of the Science Center because they were intending to spin it off from Lehigh. So I said, sure, I'd do it. And then I was there for 8 years. And my husband moved us to Ohio in 2005 when he became president of a college in Ohio. And I left just before the new building on Cedar Crest opened, literally just a few weeks before. I lived in the dorms all summer so I could work on it because we had sold our house. I lived in the Cedar Crest dorms. And then, so that I was off to Ohio. And then when we moved back, he moved back about a year before I did. I was working on a project in Ohio at the National Museum of the United States Air Force. And my old job opened up and a couple people called and said, Lin, you should apply. And so you think about, do you go back to where you were before? But there were just a lot of opportunities. And it seemed like a lot of opportunity for growth, great staff, great board. So I came back in 2012, 2013.
And we're so glad that you did. I didn't realize that the Da Vinci Center started at Lehigh.
Yes.
And you were there when I was there.
Yes.
Like 97 was
fun.
Yeah, that was
That's
my
a long time ago.
Yeah, that was senior year, 97. And I loved my time at Iacocca Hall. That's where I did all my pre-law work. So yes, that is awesome.
Lehigh's a great place. Yeah.
And then you talked about one of my favorite people, Peter Likens.
He was awesome. Yes. Awesome. And he had started a lot. He had really engaged the community in a big way and connected Lehigh to the community. Various organizations like the Science Center, the Manufacturers Resource Center, the Ben Franklin program, and then this other program called Agile Manufacturing that Roger Nagel had started. So, yeah.
I was very sad.
Very fun opportunity.
I was very sad when Pete left for University of Arizona, and he took Patty Yoda with him. So Patty was like my mom.
That's right. Right. Yes, thinking about these people who were there a long time ago.
Yes, Patty was like my mom. So she was the reason I went to Lehigh, actually. So yeah, You've worked with
Yes,
some amazing people,
absolutely.
and but this journey hasn't been all,
It's been up and down a little
it
bit.
hasn't
Yes.
all shoots and giggles, right?
Yes.
Because as you were building the new center, which we're so glad to have in Center City, it wasn't always embraced because people didn't understand. How did that feel, knowing that you were doing something great and the community didn't always understand? Because you had people talking about, gotta get money over here and get money over there, but you can't build anything good without paying for it.
Yeah, there was a lot of competition for dollars. I mean, we had a couple false starts also because we at the time we started looking for a new site, there were challenges in city government in downtown Allentown, and we didn't find a site. We spent a lot of time trying to find a site in Allentown, and we ended up choosing a site in Easton, but that didn't work out. And so then we had to regroup and decide, did we still want to go ahead? And the board decided that we wanted to go ahead, and then COVID hit. So we just had like a lot of things going on. But we had some dollars thanks to really then Senator Brown and all the local legislators going after some gaming money. We had some funding to get going. So even though we had to close because of COVID, we started working on the project so we would be ready, infrastructure ready when we got through COVID. So, and we had, quite honestly, there was a lot of competition for money, but there was a lot of support for us locating in downtown Allentown, and people were really excited. All different levels, whether it be schools, neighborhoods, businesses, community leaders, they were really excited for us to be in downtown Allentown. So that made it easier, even though we had the competition, especially for government funding, um,
and you
at the
guys
same
are
time.
and you guys are doing some amazing things, like the STEAM Academy. How do we, and I was so excited, how do we get something like a STEAM Academy where we have now elementary school students, correct?
It's awesome. It's again, I was a fifth and grade, sixth grade teacher for like 7 or 8 years before I went on these other journeys, and there's nothing more important than the work that teachers do. I
I
think there's
agree.
nothing more important, and
Hmm.
so it's. I had been speaking with the variety of superintendents we've had over the last decade or so in the school district. We have had
Hmm.
several, and
Unfortunately.
and saying that we're going to be right in the middle of your district in downtown Allentown, and the prior ones were interested, but they didn't pick up on that there could be a big idea. And Dr. Burks is a visionary, and she picked up on this could be a big idea. And um, we started talking about Central Elementary and different ways we could partner with Central Elementary. And she brought forward that she wanted to have theme based schools, which are not, there aren't any in any public schools in the region. There are, some charter schools that have themes, arts academies, and that kind of thing, but there aren't any in the public schools. So this
Hmm.
was going to be the first theme based school, and it was going to be STREAM. So it's STEAM with the R for reading because it was
Hmm.
elementary,
Hmm.
and it was perfect because Central's only 2 blocks away, right?
Yes.
So, and this year we started out with kindergarten, first and second,
Hmm.
but this year, and the idea is, you would grow those over time. But I'm very excited because this year every class is at the Science Center every 5 days for like a half a day. So from 9 to 3, we're using all the time that they're in school, and it's like their science center, and
That
you see
is
the kids who were
so
there last
awesome.
year are really embracing the way of thinking, further. And I've seen them on the exhibit for visitors about the snake or
That is.
exactly what we want, but they can mix in and the classes are taught by teachers from the Allentown School District and Da Vinci educators. And there's a lot of project-based learning. There's coding. They're getting into the Fab Lab and doing some activities. They're designing, doing a lot of robotics and designing things, but they're um, really engaged. It's all about being engaged.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
really at present my office is down at that lower level, and I'm I'll just stop in and see what's going on, what they're up to. So, but every day they're on the exhibit floor, some, but they're on the exhibit floor to integrate whatever they're studying. If they're studying habitats, they're in the Lehigh River watershed. They're in a particular
Yes.
location depending upon what they're studying. So
I,
it's very cool.
I love this. And I love that we're talking about exhibits. So, what are some of the exhibits someone can see or get a part of when they're visiting Da Vinci? I heard you say stream. Like I know there's a studio. But I know I'm excited. You can tell I'm a Da Vinci fan, but I'll let her tell you.
Yay.
You know some of the many exhibits that you may have.
Yeah. So we have, they call them permanent exhibits. It's not like 10 or 15 years from now, they all might not be there. The
Mhm.
Lehigh River watershed will definitely be there because it's built into the building. And so we have on the second floor, one of the favorite experiences are the river otters. So we have 4 river otters that are very cute that we're training, that have their own really great digs. They've got dig pits, they've got a waterfall, they've got 3 ponds, and they have quite the nice, habitat. So they are probably one of the most biggest attraction that people want to come and see them. And there's a live stream of the river otters, so you can watch what they're up to pretty much
Wow.
anytime. If they go back and are sleeping, you might see a video as opposed to seeing them live. But most of the time, you can see them live. And so that area, all of our areas are supposed to be things that we can relate to, all of us as kids, parents, grandparents. So the Lehigh River watershed is really important to us in this area, right?
Mhm.
We're close to the Lehigh River. Um, so that's, we have a lot of river in the Poconos actually.
Mm.
And so,
I didn't
and
know that.
they were endangered for a period, but with a lot of work of citizens, including cleaning up the rivers, basically, they are now back and they're a part of the food chain. So that's really important because we want to talk about conservation and protecting and preserving the watershed. And we have some other habitats. So we have like a little a habitat that has some catfish and turtles, and it's the bubble inside so you can crawl under and pop up and have them surround you, and everyone likes that. We have a forest habitat, that has Tony the snake and has some turtles. Also, um, we have a lake habitat. No, sorry, the lake habitat is where the one I said before. We have a river habitat that has brook trout. So they're doing really well because we've had to. Some of them have gotten so big, we've had to move to a new location.
Oh
So whatever
wow.
we're feeding them, it's really work. I should know, but I apologize. I don't know, but it's really working. And then we have a lot of animals that we take out too. Like we have a skunk, we
Oh
have
wow.
a screech owl. So a lot of different animals. And sometimes we do little programs at the science center, or we can take them out to community sites. So that's a popular exhibit. One also very popular is LVHN sponsored My Body. So this is
Yes.
about learning about your anatomy, your body, and how to keep it healthy. And there's a big crawl through intestine, and a model of a heart and a model of the brain. But there's also, I would say, my little grandson who's 2, so he will grow up at the science center, but he's starting now to get really engaged.
That's
There's
awesome.
a we call them Vitruvian hubs. It's an interactive digital experience. So you go up to it and you can activate the screen and you see your body moving around. It's not, or the frame, a
Hmm.
skeleton, or a shape of the body. And then depending upon the topic, you might be learning about different systems of the body. You might be learning about how to take care of your health, but you interact with the screen. But if you're really little, you just jump around and interact and you think it's
Yes.
fun, right? But if you're older, you can obviously learn more. And there's some really interesting things in that area. There's a time lapse video where you can look at a baby growing in the womb over time.
Wow.
Or you can look at aging, which for some might be depressing. You can look at what might my face have looked like as a teenager and what happens when you're a lot older. Uh, there's a lot of great things in that area. Then on the lower level, there's an exhibit called Science in the Making, and that's about things we study in school, physical
Mm.
science topics like electricity, light, sound, but applied to manufacturing. So I said we want to be about the local area, so we're showing off the manufacturers in our local area.
That's awesome.
So you think, forces in motion. We've got the prototype Mack truck, electric Mack truck, electric
Yes.
refuse truck.
That's
So you
awesome.
can learn about electric technology. I think all of us will ultimately be, driving electric vehicles, and
Yes.
you can learn about the manufacturing process. So a lot of companies, Rexroth, Victaulic, PPL, ATAS, Air Products, have contributed to the development of that
That is awesome.
space. And then I have to say, my favorite, it may not be the young people's favorite, might be the River Otters, but my favorite is the Curiosity Hall, which is a big courtyard space, 54 feet tall. And there's a big screen that you can interact with, a digital screen. And it's about introducing you to Leonardo da Vinci. And there's three programs: Leonardo the artist, Leonardo
Hmm.
the scientist, and Leonardo the inventor. And I'm going to tell you we're about to add another program, so I'm going to give you a sneak information about that. But so, for example, for Leonardo the inventor, it's about flight. And you always take a
Mm.
picture of yourself because you're going to be on the big screen, but you create a flying machine. It could be a dirigible, it could be a helicopter, it could be a jet, and you give it various characteristics that influence its stability and fuel usage,
That's
because it's
awesome.
then projected on the big screen and you're flying around the Lehigh Valley. So it's kind of fun. You go by Steel Stacks, you go by Iron Pigs. So you fly around, you end at the Science Center at the end, but they're like big landmarks. You know that you're in Easton or Bethlehem or
Hmm.
Allentown.
Hmm.
But if the wind comes up, depending upon how you designed your aircraft, you may or may not do too well. So it's that kind of program. But the one where, and the artist, you create a portrait of yourself and you touch it up like Leonardo might have, using like sfumato and different techniques. And it's
That
on
is
this big
so
screen in like
awesome.
this outdoor gallery that looks kind of like the Guggenheim because it's like
Yes.
circular.
Yeah.
Or there's one that you create a fit kid. So you create an avatar, and your photograph is associated with it, and then you make various. You're at these kiosks, and you make various choices about health choices. It's 8 o'clock at night, and you have swim practice. Are you going to eat a Big Mac, stay up really late? What are you going to do? And then, depending upon your choices, um, then you are uh, on this big screen. You might be more kind of the cardio avatar, or the muscular avatar, or the skeletal avatar, but you're in. So, like the cardio one is on a running track.
Mhm.
So depending upon your choices, you might be like out of breath and like falling over, or you might actually be doing well. But the new one we're adding is with the symphony, and I just saw it this afternoon, a sample of it. It
Oh,
won't.
that's awesome.
We're testing. We're still testing. It's not quite done. It will open in January, and it's Beethoven's Ninth.
That's awesome.
Is the like a 10-minute segment is you see the orchestra, on the top of the big screen. This is very large, and they're playing Beethoven's Ninth. And then on the bottom part are a number of avatars, and with playing different instruments that are part of what's happening at the top. It's all in sync with what's happening with the orchestra actually
That
playing.
is
And you go
awesome.
up to your kiosk and you pick, do you want to be a percussion, strings, and then you pick what instrument you want to play. And then there you are, you make that choice, and you can hear it. There's
Yeah.
speakers, but you can see yourself on the bottom part of the screen
Playing.
in an orchestra playing that
Awesome.
instrument, and hear that instrument.
That is
It's
so awesome.
it's again, I just tried it out this afternoon. We're still working on a few things, but it's very cool. And Diane Wittry and Damien developed the speakers at the symphony, and Diane is incredible. But and you learn a lot about the instruments and so forth. But it's
So
pretty
you guys
cool.
are doing a lot of really cool things, I think, to spark this next generation into wanting to learn,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I love that body exhibit, because it makes you want to learn about your body. I think a lot of times people think, because I'm very skinny, unfortunately and unfortunately. Skinny doesn't mean healthy though.
Yes,
So a lot of times, because you think you're thin, you're healthy, but if you don't eat right, if you don't exercise, you just,
it doesn't matter, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that you guys. So when you're thinking about exhibits, how do you how do you get excited about, which one you're gonna do next, or how do you pick how you're going to interact with community with these things? Because all of these exhibits, from the dinosaurs, I've
Yes, we
been
have
in.
dinosaurs. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, so we have these, they call them traveling exhibits. So we rent them for 3 to 6 months. It depends on the exhibit. So now we have Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which is based on a television show, and it's a younger audience, maybe ages 2 to 7, especially, I would say, and it's very popular. And it's, very cute. You do the hot dog dance. It's Pluto's birthday party. There's a lot of fun things, and that will be there till January 19th. And we know that there's great interest by our parents with very young children in experiences, and there's a lot for them to do at the science center. Regardless, we even have a little learners lab that you can go down and do activities for little kids on the lower level. But Mickey Mouse just brings them out,
Hmm.
and I have to say again, my 2-year-old loves. He had his birthday party there. He loves this Mickey Mouse exhibit because I have Mickey Mouse socks. They're already watching this. They know Mickey Mouse. So that was a specific um, something for a younger audience. Now we're going into body worlds 101, which is I mean, I bring my 2-year-old grandson, but it's for older children,
Hmm.
right? And adults. And you say, how do you get people involved? We have had bodies exhibits before, and we get a lot of college students, for
Hmm.
example, college anatomy classes. We get Vicki Kistler, the Department of Community and Economic Development, when she was in charge of the Allentown Health Bureau, she told me she brought her whole team over. So
Mm.
you have all these people that work in the medical field because it's phenomenal to see these. It's plastinated bodies, so they suck all the these are real bodies, real people. They suck all the fluid out, and they have this plastinated process, so you can look at your organs, real organs, and see what's really happening as opposed to drawings or
Mhm.
images,
Mhm.
and learn a lot about things like if you're a smoker or not a smoker, or you have a good knee or a bad knee, or you have, ACL. You have to have ACL surgery, and you can look at what that means. So
Mhm. Been there,
it's
done
so
that.
interesting, and we're trying to get again the guy who invented this process. His wife is the curator, so she picks what things she wants to show um, using these plastinated bodies to educate folks. And she did come one other time, and it's really interesting, just the whole process. And they have a side fact: they have everyone who is um, plastinated has they volunteered to be
Oh,
a
that's
part of it.
awesome.
And they actually have more people than they need. But it's so that's a uh, and that's the big school season, especially. I mean, all year is a school season. We've had a lot of young, kindergarten, first, second grade, preschools this fall. The January, or actually, I think it opens in early February through May. I expect that we will attract a lot of the middle and high schools because this topic goes really well with the biology, anatomy, and classes they're taking, anatomy and physiology. And as I said before, college classes. So besides just general, public.
So we're saying college professors, high school teachers, not just here in the valley, right? If
Yes.
you are, driving distance, right? And driving distance means we can get in the bus, take a whole bunch of students. You should find your way to this body exhibit, to be able to learn something amazing, to be able to get some interactive learning, and be able to give your students a leg up, right?
Yeah, we get a lot of we say that we serve 22 counties, so out into New Jersey, down to Philadelphia, up in the Poconos, west past beyond Reading to Lancaster. So we get a lot of folks from those areas, and pretty easy to get to. I mean, you don't have the traffic of the really big cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have a really nice place where buses can just pull up and
Mm.
let the students out. So, uh,
That
yeah,
is definitely a real plus. Was that something that was purposely done in your design when you guys
the
thought about
city,
that?
yes, this site, well, there's so many one-way streets. If you think about it, if you're dropping
Mm-hmm.
buses off on 8th or Hamilton, first of all, the kids would be on the wrong side of the street to get out, which would
Mm-hmm.
not be a good thing. But there's just too much traffic. So having the city extended the kind of a street, a narrow street that was behind the DLP building,
Mm-hmm.
all the way from 9th to 8th, so
Mm-hmm.
we could have the buses drop off, or parents. If you're coming to, for example, we'll greet you right out on the sidewalk. You can pull up, and one of our educators will be there to greet your child and walk right in. So you don't even have to figure out where to park and what you have to do.
And I can attest to that. When Fine Feather brought their kids
Yeah,
over in our bus, and we our first year, we were multiple vans, so
yeah,
we had to work with your staff, right, to organize, keep the kids as we were bringing more and more kids
yeah,
over. So I loved that your staff meets them at the door, greets them with a smile, you know, and allows the kids to feel like they're about to get into something exciting. That was the first time for us. That was the dinosaur exhibit.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that was amazing. But I love that you made Da Vinci affordable for the local people, right? Because I think a lot of people aren't utilizing Da Vinci as much as I think they should, because I don't think they know how affordable it is, and how much them and their youth can benefit from being in there. It's not a baby, so they're not a daycare, so you cannot just drop your kids off. But if you want to have a good interactive space, I think Da Vinci does great there. So can you talk about like some of the affordability
Yes,
rates just so?
yes. I really thank you for bringing that up. That's really important to us.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so first of all, if you have a student in the Allentown School District, this is part of the partnership we have with the district. Your family automatically has a free membership. You can come whenever you want. We have your information in our database, and actually even a special benefit for the which the school district has contracted with us. They can even come to the traveling exhibit without paying any upcharges. Now, sometimes Mickey does not have an upcharge, but most of the traveling exhibits have an extra fee that you have to pay beyond admission. So all of those students and families, again, that are enrolled in Allentown School District can come for free all year round. Then, then we also have a program that is part of a national program actually called Access for All, and that was set up initially by the Association of Children's Museums and the Institute for Museum and Library Services. And we're not necessarily on their list. We should be on their list because we're following their model exactly. What that means is if you do not have the financial means and you can show an EBT card or a SNAP card or some kind of Department of Health and Human Services card that demonstrates that you have financial need, then you can visit the Science Center for $5 a person. Or you can buy a membership for $45, and it's usually $145 for a family. I'm talking about family. There's other
Mm-hmm.
memberships too, but let's say for the family, it's usually $145. And we have about 20. I don't know the exacts, but it's over 20%. Somewhere between 20 and 25% of our memberships are Access for All memberships. They're
Oh, that's awesome.
families that have shown that they need the support, um, and we started that at the prior science center actually because we wanted to get going. We wanted to just do it regardless if we were building a new building or not. But we knew it was especially really important downtown when we got to Allentown because we realized that there were more families than in Western Allentown that might
Mm-hmm.
not be able to afford it.
And I wanted to highlight that because I don't think people realize, especially it's wintertime coming. There aren't as many places,
It's cold out.
activities.
Yeah.
It's cold outside. You can actually learn something, create an experience with your kids and do it for free or less
A
than
small amount.
$5 and sometimes, and I think that's important. you
You
know
can also enroll in classes so that we have a scholarship fund. It's called the Linny Fowler STEAM Scholarship Fund.
Lenny Fowler, God rest her
Yes,
soul.
yes. And so, and she is one of the big reasons we even have a science center period from when we started at Lehigh. But if you want to enroll in a class and you don't have the means, you can go on our website and you have to fill out a form. But potentially, you could be taking that class for, I don't know, a very small amount of a very small down payment just to show that you're committed. Because sometimes if everything is free, you don't necessarily
Yeah,
show up.
yeah,
So there's
yeah,
a small payment.
yeah.
And so if you want to go into a summer camp program or a club after school or whatever class we might be offering, there's financial resources to support that as well. That's a big part of our fundraising is to raise money to support um, those who don't have the dollars to participate. We do not want financial means to be a barrier to visiting.
I
So
love that. I love that because stream. I like that we added the R in Allentown. Stream education is the key to freedom, I think. Whether it's science for you, whether it's math for you, whether it's reading for you, technology. One of those things are the key for, I say, generational wealth. Sometimes, and generational wealth doesn't always have to be money. I think a lot of times we get caught up in money. You know, I do want to pay my bills, right?
yes, yes, you
and
have to be
and we
good.
do want to live comfortably, right? But wealth is a I'd say a mindset and a heart set, right? So the generational wealth that you can get just tapping into what you've put in center city is so amazing. Do you feel the pressure of having to carry that? you
There's a
know
lot of pressure, but there's so much opportunity. I mean, I think
Yes.
we we recently um, have been really expanding our technology programs.
Oh,
So we hired a new chief learning officer who brings a lot of background in engineering education, computer science, AI.
that's
And
my
so we
thing,
really
AI.
want to integrate, especially AI, into all the programming that we're doing. And plus with the Fab Lab. So we have this really cool Fab Lab with 3D laser cutters, vinyl cutters, robots, all kinds of cool stuff that you can make things. And so I'll give you the cool thing that we recently, a class that we had, it happened to be all girls. We had a class that their task was to design the trail markers for what's going to be the Lehigh County Historical Trail
Okay.
for the 250th anniversary of the US. There's going to be 18 sites. We will be a site, so we're kind of on the innovation. We're not necessarily on the history side, but what's the arc of innovation when you start with historically and take to the future?
Mm-hmm.
But um, they wanted to have a marker at each site labeling it
Mm-hmm.
as one of the sites, and they're pretty big. And these students designed the marker, and it had a lot of specifications, and these will be on each site and potentially for a long time, not just for like the next year when we have the
Mm-hmm.
250th. And they had constraints and they had to work together, and different ones had different ideas, and they had
Mm-hmm.
to work with Fadia Halma, who's in charge of the
Oh,
project,
okay, love
and
Fadia.
hear her um, what the constraints are, what the opportunities are for the project. And we have a prototype now at the Science Center, but they'll be fabricating them all, I think, in January. But
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty cool. And this one woman recently spoke at this event we had for women in science and engineering, Yasmin, and she was saying it was the coolest thing she's ever done. But to have them figure out, because there's all kinds of stuff they have to have on there to represent the 250th, and they wanted to
Mm-hmm.
have the colonies, and they just had a lot of things, but they wanted it to be simple and convey what she said they learned is it needs to convey a message, a clear message. So it's things like that that you give students a chance to work together to create something.
Mm-hmm.
And because when you think about who knows what jobs these young people are going to be
Yes.
having, because things are changing so
Yes.
fast. So they've
Yes.
got to be able to think critically and solve problems and work together.
Yes.
And they learned technology. Obviously, they had to design the stuff in CAD, and so they were using technology to get this whole thing done.
It's so I love that you say that. My mentor, Dr. George Fraser, says that the arc of intelligence is to be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn again. And I think this generation is going to they're going to have to be able to do that even faster than we did,
Really
right?
fast. Yeah.
You know,
And be curious and love learning. If we instill just like the love of learning, they'll be okay. You know, so
and I think that's why, for me, Da Vinci is so important, and to have you here in Center City instead of on Cedar Crest. Not to say Cedar Crest was a bad location, but there weren't enough of the inner city kids who
right.
need this kind of spark to be able to get there.
I
They're not
agree.
walking to Cedar Crest, and many of them aren't going to get on the bus or whatever it took to get there. But
Correct. Yes.
but
No
they'll
question.
do that here, and
This
I'm
is
a
the right location for us. There's no
yes,
question.
yes, and I'm a beneficiary of what education can do for you. You know, coming out of Harlem, and then going to Moravian and then Lehigh. You know, just someone's lighting that candle early.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Da Vinci gets to do. You get to light thousands of candles early, to dream big and to enjoy and to find their love for learning, because it doesn't always happen in school, unfortunately. School has its rules, and it has to, because there's students, teachers, and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But Da Vinci allows us to learn in an environment where we are loving, where we are expressing. And I didn't even realize that the Fab Lab had all these classes. Can you tell us more Fab Lab classes? Listen, please. There's
Right
Fab
now,
Lab
tonight,
classes.
there's the culminating night of an animation club. So I'm not sure totally the scope of what they did related to animation, but they were sharing their projects and their parents were coming.
That's
So when I
awesome.
left, I know that was happening. There is a jewelry making workshop that's very cool. So the two main people we have leading the Fab Lab, one is an industrial engineer, and she's designed products for companies, but she's an artist, and the stuff she creates is phenomenal. And the other is an electrical engineer. So kind of the teamwork of the two of them, and they've created beautiful lamps. So there's a laser cutting class that you can take. That you One of the things you create is a lamp. Like, these are beautiful. Everyone would like to have them in their homes. So you're learning these skills, but there's a craft kind of element. Over the holidays, they've been bringing some of the equipment upstairs because the Fab Lab is in the lower level
Hmm.
to the main level. And we'll have a lot of holiday type activities going on. And one is making ornaments. So they'll have the laser cutter there, and you'll be able to design ornaments and cut them. And, we'll see the process. So you get a little of the kind of design experience on the computer, and then you get to see them actually made. Let me think what else. I attended a class to learn about 3D printing.
That's what I want. I didn't.
And
I didn't know they
I
had 3D
made
print
some,
classes.
I could have been probably better. I decided I was having an anniversary with my husband. Everyone was making a holder for your phone.
Hmm.
There was a kind of base design already set up in the computer, but then you had to work with the software to add whatever enhancements you want, and you design it in 2D, but then it's almost like extrude it into 3D,
Hmm.
but it's hard. I'm not a spatial thinker. I'm more a numerical thinker. So it's hard to think about how that
Yes.
happens. But I
Yes.
was able to put like a little heart, a little number, So and once you take a class and you learn how to use the equipment, then if you have a project that you want to do, you can supervise still. We're not going to leave you there by yourself. It wouldn't be safe. But you can come in and work on your project.
That is awesome.
So I think there's just lots of opportunity. Now, the students in the Allentown Stream Academy are, of course, in there, and we have a mobile Fab Lab. So we have a van. You might have seen it in the parking lot behind Boots. We have a big van
Yes.
we have carts that we put the equipment on. We roll them into the van, and
Hmm.
then we take them out to schools and roll the stuff out and bring it into their classes, and so they can work on various engineering design projects.
I'm gonna reach out to your people. Maybe during the tree lighting, they can bring out the Fab Lab and maybe do some ornaments. fight during the tree lighting or something. I don't know how
Maybe
long
it
it
usually has to
takes.
be inside. So the main
Okay.
challenge is outside is a challenge, but maybe there's the
Maybe
art
we
museum or the
art
bomb
museum, yeah, because
school.
the bomb is right there, and the art museum is facing the tree lighting.
Right.
So maybe we bring them to. We're gonna figure this
There,
out. That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure we usually come every year. I usually go to it also, but we usually come every year. So the question is what activity we're doing.
Yes.
So if the desire would be to do something with the Fab Lab, we could do something pending
Well,
people being available.
I'm
But we could
helping.
see.
I'm helping Brittany.
Okay.
With
Yep.
at the chamber
Yep.
with this. So now
It
now
should
that
be.
I
It
heard
should
this,
be in, but it's really challenging to be outside because of the equipment.
yes.
So inside is preferable, but there might be a possibility. Again, there's a lot of space right there.
Yes,
Okay.
that is so awesome. Because I'm just thinking about the levels of creativity. Think about if we would have had a Fab Lab
It
when
would
we
be
was
so cool.
young. Oh man,
Yeah.
it did. It's just when we talk about what we don't have in our city, we forget to pay attention to what we truly do have
Yeah.
in our
Yeah.
city. And I really think that the Da Vinci Center is a true gem in our city for this next generation of what we're in the Terminator times now. We're in the time of the Jetsons. Like
Yes, I know.
all of the
The
things.
George Jetson. Yeah.
Yes, all of the things that
Yes,
we
I definitely
watched.
remember.
Yeah, all of the things we watched on TV as
Yes, I know.
kids. Like, is these kids reality? And you guys are teaching them robotics. You guys are teaching them 3D printing. So that is a compliment to you. Thank you. Because I know I didn't know there was a 3D printing class. I'll be signing up. See me there soon.
And we have such an incredible staff, really
Yes, you
talented
do.
with all astrophysicists to geologists to, I already was talking about industrial designers and electrical engineers and biologists. And we have just like artists. We
Hmm.
have, and, a lot of folks have also been teachers in the classroom. So we really have an incredible talent pool. One
Hmm.
other thing I should mention that we're doing too is this career pathways program.
Awesome.
So where one part of it is a series of programs, like in the Allentown School District, for example, we're doing 8 sessions in all the middle schools, a couple of different rounds, exposing them to, I think one group of sessions is about healthcare careers, and there's a whole kind of case study they have with this Cindy the Sindaver, which is a synthetic cadaver, and she's into vaping, and again they have to explore all the conditions with that. They also, I think, they dissect a cow's egg, eye, sorry, not egg, cow's eye. Then there's a manufacturing series, but then that's just general exposure. But when you get to high school, the Allentown School District kids take a 6-week kind of intro to different careers in the fall. We're in their classes, one of the classes that they already have scheduled.
Hmm.
And then in the spring, they sign up for one of 3 intensive concentrated programs, either healthcare, manufacturing, or and those are the big areas, as you know, in this
Hmm.
region where we need jobs. And
Hmm.
also education, because there's
Teachers are necessary.
tremendous shortage of
Teachers
teachers.
are necessary.
And they develop some skills during a 12-week series after school. So for example, in manufacturing, I'm sure they'll be doing stuff in the Fab Lab. But
Hmm.
and we work with different corporate partners to help with that programming. But then if they're successful, then they apply. We work with them to put together their resumes, and they apply for a summer internship, a paid internship, and they get a paid internship for the summer in one of those fields. And like last summer, for example, um, it was, well, there was only one senior in the class. She got a job immediately upon graduation at HNL.
That's
There
awesome.
was a really awesome program at OVHN. They called them Junior Research Scholars. They have a program for college students that's like I don't
Hmm.
know, research scholars, but this was junior research scholars. They published the work that they did. It was the experience these young people, and then we had a bunch of students at Da Vinci going through some of our training associated with working with children and preparing to become teachers and inquiry based learning and working with phenomenon and what that means. So it's pretty cool, but you have to you start in the fall. Again, you have to apply for these different stages, but they're and the young people were so impressive. I would chat with some of them some of the time
Yes.
when they were, especially the ones that were in the science center doing the education internship,
Yes.
um, and they were really impressive. It's very cool.
And I tell you, the time goes quickly.
Yep.
We have 15 minutes left. So I want you to
Okay.
make sure you tell them how to log on to Da Vinci
Yeah.
Center, how
Yeah.
to find the Da Vinci Center online so that they can order tickets, show up,
Yep.
anything.
Yeah. So our website is kind of long, but it's www.davinci Science Center, all like strung together, da Vinci Science Center.org. But
Okay.
if you just Google Da Vinci Science Center, it's going to come up. And then once you're on there, there's various options about visiting, purchasing tickets, taking classes, lots of fun photos so you can see kind of what's going on. Lots of stuff about the holiday. Uh, besides the ornaments, we're having this polar research station that you can do various experiments in, which is going to be fun. You can build an igloo. And then we have a
Oh.
nutcracker science show. So, kind of a
Yes.
play off the Nutcracker story, but I believe there's some food that goes with that.
That is
And then the
awesome.
making ornaments. So all of that actually starts next Black Friday. Starts, the day after Thanksgiving,
Hmm.
and then goes through whatever January, those 2 weeks we have, just a little bit past the new year.
That is
So
so awesome. Yeah, I tell you, the time goes quick. So I didn't want
I
them.
know.
I
Yep,
didn't want
that's
them to
good.
miss.
Yeah.
As we told them so many of the great things that's going on. But what I love most about Da Vinci Center, I think, isn't what's going on in the center, but how you guys have really been committed to community. You know, I've seen your staff at many community
Yes.
events.
Yes.
I thank your staff for coming to my guy Leon's Halloween event, and
Yes.
those kids that were there enjoyed everything. So I love that you're so committed to community. Is that intentional? Is that
Yes.
and why so? You know.
Well, one of our when we started out on, well, we've always wanted to be community based, but especially when you look at moving into downtown, we wanted to make sure that we had a community based science center and that we worked with the community to develop the science center, and that it also reflected the community. So everything is in English and Spanish. Now,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, we should have more languages also, and probably with between AI and our phones, and we need to add that capability. But we want people to feel welcome. All and people from all backgrounds. If I have um, had the opportunity, I would say a few different visitors that I know well are in wheelchairs. One was a
Mm-hmm.
young child, another was an older gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to make sure you can easily navigate
Mm-hmm.
whatever your situation might be, whether it's religion, race, uh, languages that you might speak, um, disabilities, whatever it might be. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable. Gender identity, all of those, we want to make sure you feel comfortable, and our staff is very committed to that also, because we're about STEAM for all. Not there's no privilege or only a certain group that can participate, and we have more to do. We know we have more to do in that area. We have a small staff committee, and we also have a board committee that is focused on how we can make sure that we are as welcoming as possible.
I think one thing that's very good is the pricing. In today's economy,
Right.
you
And it's even
know,
worse right now, right?
and,
Everything is so expensive.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, in today's economy, to know that as an ASD parent, you know, I can walk in there with my kids. I'm a parent and a grandparent. But to know that you know um, I have a safe space, right? And that's important. A safe space for us to be able to learn and explore at a great price. You know, it's walking distance. So for most of the city,
Mhm.
you know, it's a a great like off ramp for anyone that's really looking to take off. And I don't think everyone knew that. I don't, and I don't think you because you did a bad job of
No, we
communicating.
need more people
But
to
everyone,
know. Yeah.
yeah, I think there's just on every platform there's someone they should know that we may have missed.
Right.
Who can tell another parent. Whether right now we're streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Don't be nervous.
It's okay. It's good.
No, no, but there may be other platforms that someone needed to know that, you know, there's 3D classes at the Da Vinci Center. There's, different things that we can do, learn, and STEAM is for all.
Yes.
And I love that.
It's all of us, whether you're going to go into that kind of career or not. Well, this table was designed by someone, but it's everywhere. Our lives, just pick up any kind of newspaper that shows my age, which actually I don't even get the newspaper. I look on my phone, but pick up anything, and every day between health and climate change, there's so many issues. AI, we need to understand more about them so we can be informed citizens, and in many cases those topics are going to be in our lives, in our everyday lives, in so many ways.
One of the things that I'm a big proponent on is edutainment, right? To make it,
Hmm.
we
Make it fun.
make it fun, right? I say we got to make it cool to be smart. you know so I think that at the Da Vinci Center you allow kids to feel cool to be smart. Like if you can say you knew the little otter's name, right?
Yes,
That's a cool thing, right?
absolutely.
You can when you can run down on your parents and say, look what I learned in 3D class. And because there's other individuals and supervisors, they can actually show their parents something, and now spark a new interest. We don't know what businesses, what legacies may come from, just the ability to walk into the Science Center because it's in Center City versus at Cedar Crest. So I'm excited.
I want to tell you a fun story then about that. So we had a woman we have these career connection days that are um, usually during the week because we're really encouraging field trips, and we have a whole bunch of companies there with representatives that do fun activities related to their company. And they work there so the students can meet engineers or healthcare professionals or whomever it might be. Um, and we recently and colleges and universities and LCTI, technical
Hmm.
institutions come as well. So recently we had a group from Lehigh there, and they have a project with us, and they're doing a project for Endress and Hauser, a company that's into instrumentation, and it's like an engineering capstone project, and their project is
Mm.
supposed to be to create something that would help educate students about the company, and I believe it's about flow. I don't know that much about this company. I apologize, but they had their prototype there. But there was a young woman sitting there, and she went to South Mountain Middle School. She went to William Allen High School, and she was on the team, on this engineering team at Lehigh. And the next day, some of our team went over. I think all the engineering capstone projects must have been doing a showcase. I was not able to go over to that. I did talk with her at the Science Center, but some of our staff went over and they were talking with her a little bit more. And she wants to be a science exhibit designer. So full circle, she came as a student at South Mountain to the prior Science Center, obviously,
Hmm.
because she's older, and ultimately moved into becoming an engineering student at Lehigh. She's doing this project that is working with the Science Center, and she wants to be an exhibit designer. And the really fun thing is, one of the schools there that day was South Mountain. So South Mountain, the middle school she went to, those
Yes.
kids
Yeah.
were there. So
Yes.
it's just kind of like you don't know
Yes.
the impact. But
Yes.
so actually, our chief learning officer is going to spend a little time with her to talk with her a little bit about exhibit design and the path that she might take to go into exhibit design.
I love it because one of the things that I stress is being a part of the creative economy.
Yes.
You know, um, what STEAM education allows is for more people to be a part of the creative economy. And the creative economy doesn't always mean I'm a singer, a dancer, or a rapper, right? I can be a stagehand that knows how to build, right?
Stage sets, theater
Yes.
set. That's how Leonardo actually
Yes.
was did a lot of his inventions because he was creating all these contraptions for these theater productions for the Duke of Sforza.
Mm-hmm.
So set design, theater design is a really interesting area.
Yes. So the way that Da Vinci has, and I love that you told that story because again, there's someone right now who has a child that's at South Mountain or any of our middle schools and going, wow, right? And there's a little girl who probably walked into your science center recently and goes, they hear that story now and feel like this can
I
happen
can
for
do
me
it.
too,
Yeah,
right?
because you see someone that's just a little bit older,
Mm-hmm.
and they're at Lehigh and doing a
Mm-hmm.
capstone project. It's so cool.
Yes. Yes. So the amount of opportunity and connectivity that Da Vinci brings, and now I didn't know it started in my alma mater, and so now I'm going to be even more, even more involved. Yes, and then that I'm going to have to send a text to Patty and Pete, because I'm still in touch.
Yeah, Lehigh. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
because it is just a beautiful thing to see what you've created, and you did it in rough, tough times during the pandemic,
yeah.
during COVID, during a time when everyone was scared, and no one knew what was next. You guys still
We pushed ahead.
pushed
Yeah,
through to
we
bring
had such a
something.
good, really strong board with visionary, committed, dedicated people, and a really strong staff. So well, we wouldn't have done it obviously, and then all the community members. In that LVHN exhibit, over 60 professionals worked on different aspects, depending upon what the exhibit is and what your background is, and that's amazing. And the manufacturers all worked on the piece of the exhibit experience that their company was involved in, and the wildlands was helped us create the Lehigh River watershed and what species we should have there and how we should put that all together. So it was really a lot of participation by the community, besides obviously neighborhood residents and schools and so forth informing, but as far as the technical expertise for some of the exhibits.
I love that. So Da Vinci, for those who didn't catch that, right, is a perfect, you know, look at what collaboration feels like in community, right? It takes many different groups to build something that's so powerful. And I think you're doing something that's amazing. The lives that you've touched already, and the lives that you will touch in the future is astronomical. So if no one else pats you on the back, let me give
Oh,
you a pat
you're
on the back,
kind.
my
You're
sister.
kind.
You know,
But many people,
mhm.
participated and have um, in big ways that made a difference. I have to say, Secretary Brown, especially,
Mhm.
huge in terms of getting some of the resources we needed to make this possible.
Big shout out to Pat Brown, Secretary Pat Brown, for that. And I tell you, this time will go by quickly.
Yeah.
So again, please give them your website, how they can find Da Vinci. Again, just so it's easy for them to
Yes.
remember.
So it's the Da Vinci Science Center at PPL Pavilion. PPL is also a huge, huge supporter. And it's www.davincisciencecenter, all like one long word, .org. But if you just Google again Da Vinci Science Center, it'll pop up right away.
And I'm going to ask you to do what I've asked all my guests to do with me while they've been on my show.
Okay.
And that's say my personal manifesto. I'm going to say it right out loud, fast and through, and then we'll do it as call and response.
Okay.
So, my personal manifesto is simple: I love me. I'm worthy. Some people may not like me, but I don't care because the people that matter will be glad that I'm here. So, I'll do it in call and response. I love me.
I love me.
I'm worthy.
I'm worthy.
Some people may not like me,
Some people may not like me,
but I don't care
but I don't care
because the people that matter
because the people that matter
will be glad that I'm here.
will be glad that I'm here.
And we are glad that you spent this hour with us, Lynn. We are glad that you are actually the last episode of season
Oh
2.
dear.
We're glad that we're ending season 2 with you. We're glad that we were able to spark so many minds. We are glad that you were able to pour into so many people. And I am glad to know that this all started at my alma mater. Go Mountain
Go
Hawks.
Lehigh.
Hold on, JB Riley. I know you're watching this. Mountain Hawks eat leopards.
Big game coming up.
So yeah, we really thank you for spending this hour with us and telling people how affordable Da Vinci is. I
Yes.
think that is so important at a time like it is right now. You can spark a new mind for under $5 in many cases and create new
Yes.
legacy.
Yes.
So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to join you.
And I'm going to give you the very last word. She's
Thank
like,
you. Come on down to Da Vinci. We've got so much fun things happening over the next few weeks.
go see my friend. This was the last episode, my friends. And we are.
Now, are you doing